Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time of the week it is. It's the 4th and 1 podcast brought to you by you guys, the 4th and 1 fans. My name is Fancy Trash Can, sitting next to, as always, Captain Boring. We're live from Lancaster and Lidditz, Pennsylvania, in a new area because my Wi-Fi was being annoying. So I am in my living room. I am looking cozy AF because I am cozy AF. It is fall. You might hear crickets. I'm hand-holding the microphone. I look classy AF, if I do say so, and my wife decorated all of this. So, I guess we're just going to kind of jump on into it because I watched absolutely no college football, so I am just here for my personality this week, which isn't bringing much to the table. So, Micaiah, first of all, welcome. Hi, how are
Thank you. I'm good.
Kansas is leading the Big 12.
Yeah. Just absolutely excellent. You got the rundown in front of you, or do I need to pull it up?
I'm about to pull it up,
okay.
But I wanted to start with the Jayhawks.
Absolutely. This is just a phenomenal story. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter what happens to Kansas the rest of the way, the Kansas Jayhawk, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, KU forever, is the story of 2022 college football. Do not get it twisted. They will not win a natty. They might not even win the Big 12, but this is amazing. We covered it last week. Kansas has not won more than 3 games since 2009. This is 13 years later. They've won 4 games. Oh, and by the way, they're very exciting. Their quarterback is very exciting. They are just the story of college football. I'm sure at one point, if they keep winning, if they end up being, 5-2, 6-1, whatever it is, they got a date with Oklahoma, I think in 2 weeks.
I thought it was at the end of the season.
Maybe. I think when me and Roberto looked it up, it's in 2 weeks, their date with Oklahoma. That's at Oklahoma. And Simeon may or may
just disappeared for no reason. That's cool.
Well, your video also just disappeared, but your audio's still there, so that's nice, I guess.
That is a positive, yeah. I don't know what just happened there.
I don't either. I'll let you know if you come back. So,
right.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, 4 wins on the year. This is just an excellent story. Everyone, if you're not going to do anything else in college football this year, go follow the Kansas Jayhawks.
Huh. Well, we're not going to worry about my video right now. We're just going to I'll be the voice in your head if you're watching us, as always, on YouTube, 4th and 1 podcast, anywhere else, anchor.fm/4th and 1 to find us. Also stay on top of our clips and other places on Instagram at 4th and 1 podcast. The ESPN app from here is very strange, so I'm just pulling up on ESPN. We had a pretty big week. I wanted to do the biggest upset of the week, which was an Adrian Martinez-led Kansas State upsetting Oklahoma. Now, to me, it wasn't that much of an upset. They were bound to lose one of these games eventually. But what is your take on it, Captain Warren?
So I think that this week I am deeming it as everyone. I am trying to make picks because my week has just been very busy as well. So I'm trying to do 2 things at once. However, I've deemed this past week 4 that is, the teams where you find out who your team is. Because a lot of teams up until that point, take an Oklahoma, take a Michigan, take a Clemson, literally anyone in the top 10 hadn't played anyone, really. And so this was their first kind of try at playing it. Now, it went better for others than some, but Michigan struggled. And Oklahoma, I think maybe this is a wake-up call. They kind of got pushed around by Kansas in that second half. Listen, Kansas
State.
Yes, thank you. Kansas State is always going to be one of those teams that you got to be almost perfect to beat the big team because your recruiting and talent are not up to par with the big-time schools. So, they did. I mean, Deuce Vaughn was amazing. He's about 5'5", and he will run. They will do a running play, just a straight dive or inside read, and you'll lose him because you won't know where he is because he is in amongst the trees and the big bodies, and you have no idea where he is, and then all of a sudden he'll pop out the other side for a 30-yard run. Oklahoma, they got pushed around on especially the defensive line of scrimmage. Kansas State's offensive line kind of pushed them around. It did end up being a 7-point game, but Kansas State ran for 275 yards. They ran the ball 49 times, 275 yards, 5.6 a carry. That's all you need to know.
Wow. Kansas State now ranked 25. That's on the Big 12 network, ESPN Plus. They take on Texas Tech, who also had a good win this week against Texas.
Well, and that's a good segue. Let's just jump right into that. Listen, this is the last kind of time that Texas Tech and Texas will be playing because of Texas's move to the SEC. I'm sorry, that's the last time they will play in Lubbock, which is where Texas Tech is located. So, what Texas Tech did is they were down 14, and they just kept battling, and they kept fighting, and they eventually wore Texas down, which I was very surprised at. I'm trying to find it. Here it is. I'm trying to find the stats because I really don't know, but it was impressive. Texas Tech threw the ball for 334 yards. They held the ball. They did not turn the ball over. They only had 5 penalties. Texas turned the ball over twice, and they held the ball for 35 minutes time of possession. And when you're going to hold the ball 11 minutes longer, almost 12 minutes longer than the opposing team, you're going to have a great shot to win any day of the week. And again, it was the turnovers. One of them were in overtime that Texas, they gave it to their running back, and he just kind of lost control of the ball, and he had never fumbled until that point. And down goes Texas, now sitting at 2-2.
Sorry, Mom.
And now here we are. Again, Texas Tech 1-0 at the top, along with Kansas of the Big 12.
And you're forgetting I think an undefeated TCU and Oklahoma State.
Probably. There are many teams sitting at the top right now. I will give
They
it that.
They haven't had any.
But if you were to start the season and tell me that Kansas and Texas Tech would be 1-0 in the Big 12, I would tell you are smoking crack, and you should get that problem looked at.
That's very, very fair. You mentioned it a little bit ago that Texas Tech and Texas aren't going to be playing anymore. Does that mean Oklahoma and Oklahoma State won't be playing anymore?
I'm going to take it by this, that you have my doc up, so that's good, so I can close that tab. This is just excellent segueing by Captain Fancy Trash Can.
Fancy Trash Can, not Captain, just Fancy Trash Can.
Just Fancy Trash Can. Excellent segueing. Everyone give this video a like just for this segueing alone. Because
what they pay me the big bucks for.
And the big bucks are $4 a month from our mother.
Which we'll be getting to her segment here right after this.
And right after. However, I did answer all those for her, but maybe she sent new ones. I don't know. We'll find out. This is how jumbled we are. Yes, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma will no longer. That's not good. Will no longer be playing in one of the oldest rivalries in college football, which is a Debbie Downer, Susie Sadness, Frankie Frowner. It is a shame. We don't know why this can't be Oklahoma once they make the moves to the SEC and Oklahoma State's out-of-conference game, either at the beginning of the season or like week 9 when all SEC teams play like cupcakes. We're not sure. You need to fix it, SEC, because it's unacceptable. You're taking one of the oldest, best rivalries in college football, and you're just throwing it out the window. So, not happy about it, first and foremost. Secondly, do better. And thirdly, it's it's a travesty and a crying shame.
It became personal with me.
Do you need to check on your dog?
Just 1 sec. He's literally laying right here. Just 1 second.
Okay. Well, for the reason Makai needs to check on our mascot, Duke, who did lose to Kansas this week. Kansas will be taking on Iowa State, who...
All right,
did they beat Iowa last week?
They beat Iowa 2 weeks ago. That's a good point.
That's what it was. I'm sorry.
But, however, Iowa State did lose to Baylor, and Baylor has a big game against Oklahoma State this weekend. Stay tuned. One of my top 5 games.
Watch this transition here. So, First of all, Mom didn't really ask us any questions. Specifically, besides what happened after FSU lost with the fans, were they being naughty? And that just sounds uncomfortable.
I also don't know what she means.
I don't know what she means either, and that was basically her only question that we could probably answer. So, watch this. So, Kansas played Iowa State, who 2 weeks ago played Iowa. Iowa is... in the past 5 games, which goes back to 1999, I believe, against opponents ranked 5th or higher, I think they have 5 games, is 4-1. Their 6th game, basically of the millennia, is this weekend, big noon game on Fox in Nc Stadium in Iowa City against Big Blue and the Wolverines.
There it is. I'll give another fun fact stat. You know how many offensive touchdowns Iowa has scored this year?
Is it 3?
It's 2.
I was going to say, is it 2? Which is a quote.
And that is just an absurd
I'm in danger.
low amount of touchdowns. I mean, their defense is great, and their defense scores touchdowns. Listen, the over-under, not the over-under, the spread right now in the Michigan game is 10.5, last time I checked.
It's 11, I think I saw
it's 11.
a couple minutes ago.
This should easily, again, depending on how Michigan shows up and things, this should easily, because of how, and again, this is not to say Michigan's defense is great at all. This should be a 27-3 game Michigan win. Like, Michigan, as long as you don't beat yourself, and I covered this a few weeks ago. We covered this week 2, I think. Iowa should not get any more than 3 points. Their offense is that atrocious. Their defense, is good, but Michigan, if you just pound your head against a brick wall, eventually that brick wall will cave in and crack, and it should be a 27-3 game. Like, last year's offense for Iowa was heads and shoulders way better than this year's offense, and the final score was 42-14 in the Big Ten championship game. This is a rematch of the Big Ten championship game. This should be 27-3, 27-10, 34-10 easily. I feel bad. Iowa is regressing college football. They're going the opposite way.
Yeah, I think their coach is on the hot seat for sure. Micaiah, what do you make of Michigan's offense, defense, whole game that we touched on a little bit? We previewed the game against Maryland a little bit. What did you see against the game against Maryland?
Yeah, so Michigan fans, rightfully so, are freaking out. Listen, Michigan it ended up being a 7-point win. Probably it was 19-34, and then Maryland kind of scored a late touchdown with 34 seconds left or something like that, and then Michigan recovered the onside. So Michigan had the turnover, and here's what I wrote. Yes, Michigan has its obvious deficits they need to fix. Both through the air, their secondary was kind of beat up by Maryland, who has NFL wide receivers, and Talia Tungavailoa. But let's be realistic here. Their offense moved their ball. Their offense had 470 yards total offense in the game. Blake Corum was amazing and is a legitimate Heisman contender. He ran the ball 30 times for 243 yards. He averaged 8.3 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. All JJ has to do is take what the defense gives him and hit the deep shots. That was the thing. They took 5 deep shots through the course of the game. They hit 1 of them. If they hit even 2 more of those, 2 of which or 3 of which would have been a touchdown out of the 5, then that game would have been 51-24 easily. Defense has to learn how to be physical at the line of scrimmage, especially against the run when they face bigger physical back. Valid concerns, but let's not panic. ... Yet. So I really felt like the Michigan offense was just trying to hit the big play, hit the big play, hit the big play, hit the big play. When they stopped trying to hit the big play and were methodical and moved the ball and handed the ball off and took their 5-yard outs and checked it down and didn't take sacks, and JJ wasn't trying to, he almost threw an interception one time. He fumbled the ball once. CJ Stokes fumbled the ball once. They only lost 1 of those. And then he was running around trying to create a huge play and took a 15-yard sack. If Michigan just takes what the defense gives them, especially at Iowa, they're going to be fine. And they just have to learn that explosiveness comes with times. Now, it is encouraging because Michigan, like I said, had open receivers down the field. They just have to hit them. And in previous games, J.J. McCarthy did hit them. He was just overthrowing them all, not putting enough air under the ball. He understands. He said he rated his performance very bad. And Harbaugh said, I liked what he did. He just needs to be better at it and more efficient. So let's not panic, Michigan fans. However, if you're Robert, as Robert told me, you're not going to panic, but your finger is hovering over the button come noon on Saturday.
So, yeah, that game is the big noon kickoff, again, in Nc Stadium, Iowa City, Iowa. Let's talk about the other real quick big noon Saturday game. That is number 7 Kentucky, who we haven't seen them here in a while, taking on number 14, Ole Miss. I have no idea where this game is. I don't even know. I'm going over to hover over the stadium. No clue, because I'm not wearing my glasses. Oh, yes, I do know. Kentucky at Ole Miss. It's in Ole Miss. Okay, so...
Oh, yes, this is one of my games this week.
I was hoping because it should be. That was my transition.
That's all I got, ladies.
That's all I got.
That's all, folks. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm going to get into the game breakdown during my little 5-pick segment here. I think what is very key, though, for people to understand is this Kentucky run, being at number 7, has been about 8 years in the making. So with Mark Stoops, took over a very bad Kentucky program. Kentucky probably would have been a 500 team, Pac-12, Big 12, maybe Big 10, but because they're in the SEC East with Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, they just got railroaded all the time. So this run has really kind of been coming. However, Kentucky hasn't been kind of doing what they normally do, which is run the football, and that's concerning, and I will get into that. Ole Miss, on the other hand, they've completely changed their offensive scheme. Last year, it was throw, throw, throw. They could run a little bit, over 100 yards a game. This year, it is run, 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 play action over the top. And they got those Southern athletes, and so they can play a little bit. But I just want everyone to appreciate what Kentucky's doing, and you can equivalent this to any part of your life. I'm not saying don't take the better opportunity, but sometimes the grass isn't always greener, and you have to grow your lawn first. You have to grow, and you have to be patient, and you have to wait for it to come in, and then you have a nice, thick, luscious lawn. You can't just look over the fence and be like, I want that fence. I'm going to go buy my neighbor's house so I can have that lawn. Well, if you don't learn how to take care of a lawn, no matter how nice the lawn is that you buy, it's always going to die. And I didn't even try to rhyme.
Well, Very good job. We have some other interesting slating games. I'm just going to let you guys know as fans. 12 o'clock, Minnesota also takes on a pretty good-looking Purdue team. Texas Tech, Kansas State as well. Sliding on down to the 2 p.m. on the Pac-12 network. Number 12, Utah versus Oregon State. Just going to stop and park it here for a little Simeon segment, fancy trash can segment here. James Madison is playing Texas State on ESPN+. This is one of their 2 FCS games that they had to play, I guess, for some reason. Not 100% sure when. It's Texas State and Arkansas State this week and next week. Then they're back in Conference USA against Marshall. Then they're at Louisville, back in Conference USA at Old Dominion, at Georgia Southern, and they finished off with Coastal Carolina. They won a thrilling Hail Mary that didn't really need to be a Hail Mary. Oh, I said one of 3 FCS teams. Sorry, and Texas Southern might be an FBS school. I'm not sure. A thrilling Hail Mary victory. The only reason I'm bringing this up is you're not going to hear from me about JMU anymore until later in the season. They're doing a great job. Go Bulldogs, keep it up, or go Dukes, I guess technically. It's the Duke, man. And so I just wanted to stop there for a second as we move along down the Saturday slate.
Well, they're first place in the Fun Belt, too.
They are technically still first place in the Fun Belt.
And this is, again, an FCS school. We're playing lower, again, top end, kind of number 2, top 5 all the time. But the good FCS school should not come in and dominate and dominate FBS schools the way they are. Listen, App State had a big lead at halftime. They dominated that second. They got dominated by JMU in that second
14-0. They pitched a perfect second half.
It was incredible. And so, again, their biggest tests are yet to come. But listen, I'm going to be completely fine if JMU does what JMU does and they only lose 1 or 2 games, and then next year they're able to join, go to a conference championship and the group of 5 and the new college football playoff format kicks in, and they're going to be awesome. And maybe they even make a college football playoff within their first 3 years of being in the FBS. Amazing.
Well,
Absolutely
all of a sudden, smaller conferences are going to start looking up north to I forget what conference, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana State, South Dakota State. Yeah, all those people are, and they're going to start looking up north. Interesting slots happening in the afternoon for us. We got 3 good games, all at 3:30. Well, I'm sorry, oh no, I was right. I was right. We got number 2 Alabama against and in Little Rock for Arkansas. We have number 9 Oklahoma State going to the Baylor Bears, and we have number 22 Wake Forest taking on number 23 Florida State. And Iowa State taking on Kansas, who should be ranked, but that's all we're going to say about that. Micaiah, are any of these games on your slate? These 3:30 games? All 3 of them?
All 3 of them are. Absolutely all 3 of them. Kansas is getting there, almost there. I take it you didn't see the disaster that happened down in Miami?
I'm writing them off. I get it.
Robert sent me a text. I never want to hear anything about Miami ever again.
Yeah, they're kind of just like, hey, you guys need to go take this season and figure yourselves out a little bit. I think my mom said something. In the other weeks about, or I was talking to somebody this weekend. I forget who I was talking to about. Side note: does your wife not take out the trash?
If I ask her to, she will. But typically, I'm normally the one who does.
Okay.
It's not that she won't. It's just normally I get to it because I'm a clean freak compared to her. So yeah, normally I just get to it first.
Okay. I think that's like an us thing, because my wife, her brothers always took out the trash,
and so
instead
now
of her.
now she never takes out the trash.
Never takes it out. She does sometimes, but let's say like 95% of the time, I'm the one. And about half of that time, she's asking me to take out the trash, so I can't make fun of her. But I just found it weird and wanted to, bro around for 2 seconds on the podcast. Girls be weird. Okay.
Girls be bitches be cray.
I wouldn't say she's crazy. Yeah, I'm Miami.
Everybody's crazy. Everybody.
That's true.
There's a base level crazy that comes with every single human being on the face of the earth.
Side note: Middle Tennessee is on one of my games of picks. This week.
For those of you who don't know, because Simeon's just terrible at his job.
No, I wanted to bring some humanity into our podcast.
Well, Miami lost to Middle Tennessee State.
I know.
And,
I'm Paul.
Oh, and by the way, Middle Tennessee State got railroaded by JMU week 1.
Yeah, it's really, but then they've won out so far. They're leading. I forget what conference they're in, but they're leading their conference. Hold on, I have to find it.
Do you want an example of NIL money?
Yes, I do want an example of NIL money.
Do you know who James Harrison is? Marvin Harrison. I'm sorry. Do you know who Marvin Harrison was?
The name sounds familiar.
Okay, so Marvin Harrison was Peyton Manning's go-to receiver.
Thank you.
They had the most touchdowns from quarterback to wide receiver. He was an absolute stud. He's a Hall of Famer. He has a son. His son goes to Ohio State. Okay? So that's just to let you know his son's just as good, if not better, at this point. So Ohio State routed Wisconsin. By the way, it's Ohio State and Georgia. Okay? Those are the two teams in college football. That's it. Good night. Turn it off. If it is not Ohio State and Georgia at the end of the season in the national championship game, something has gone fantastically wrong, and I'm going to love every second of it because it will be Ohio State and Georgia. So tune in. Second Monday in January. I believe it's like the 11th or 12th this year, something like that. So we'll see you then for the national championship between Ohio State and Georgia. However, Marvin Harrison Jr. was having a great game, and they were bored because it was like 42-7 or whatever. And so they flashed in on Marvin Harrison Jr. He has an Apple Watch on. He played the entire game wearing an Apple Watch and Louis Vuitton cleats.
I was about to say, isn't that breaking some sort of
probably
uniform violation?
Probably. I don't know. And I'm sure that Ryan Day is going to fine him or suspend him or whatever college coaches do to discipline college kids nowadays. But just...
If the fact that you could technically feasibly fine a college player baffles... I'm still getting over it.
Yeah.
I'm still processing.
Listen, man, I'm trying.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to transition.
It's just mind-boggling that these kids are making more money than I will.
You are?
than I will in 10 years, 12 years, 13 years of work. They'll make it in a season, 12 weeks. With their NIL deals. It's very interesting. Anyway, I do just want to touch on one other thing, and then I'll let you do your thing.
Before we're doing while we're still on NIL,
yeah.
Was it Ryan Day? Wasn't he the one who went to boosters and said, "Listen, if you want to keep this team around, we're gonna need $13 million"?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Now again, you don't know if that's what it normally costs to run a college football team, or if he was saying, "Listen, these kids are looking for NIL money." And it's going to cost $13 million additional, to keep this team together and take a legitimate run at a national championship, because that's what they are, because they have the defense to do it. And that's the difference between this Ohio State and last year's Ohio State is the
defense is there.
The defense is there. The effort on defense is there, and effort is about 75% of defense. So, yeah, I mean. He told boosters it's going to take like $13 million to keep this team together, and I guess they gave him for $13 million.
As Micaiah slowly dies. Now, on that note, I'm not touching USC. I'm
Yeah.
going to let them
Well, I
kind of
think-
develop. I'm letting them smolder, shall we say.
Again, that kind
simmer.
of went into a bunch of top 10 teams finally had to play real school. USC did not have to play real school until they went to Corvallis at nighttime. And that would be Oregon State. And Oregon State always gives them troubles, gave them troubles again. I thought it would be a high-scoring game. It was not. And USC had to come back to win that game. So, Simeon, you're right. Let them smolder a little bit.
Yeah, I just kind of want to see same thing with UCLA. They're both 4-0. So let's go into week 5 with your pick 'em. Is the late games, ladies and gentlemen, for those who care, there's not much there, to be honest with you. Clemson's taking on NC State. That's the evening game. That's pretty good. Texas is taking on West Virginia.
If
Oregon's taking on Stanford. That's about all I got. Sunday has UCF versus SMU. Lots of
Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah, that's a Sunday. Oh, yeah, those are Florida and Eastern Washington. Those are the movements for Hurricane Ian.
Right. So shout out to everyone involved with or surrounded by Hurricane Ian right now. Thoughts, T's and P's, as we say at work. T's and P's go out to you guys.
And
stay safe.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
So, Makai, give me your 5.
Well,
This is going to be a little bit of a quick one just because of how our schedules worked out.
You know what needs to be quick?
Me?
You know what
Later
needs to
today?
be nice. The replay in college football. Like, they have got to come up with a different. Like, they take forever.
Yo, first of all, that was an unplanned transition into it,
Thanks.
which is a 10 out of 10.
Thanks. Oh, my goodness.
It wasn't it the same way last year, too?
It's the same way every year. I don't know why. It's an independent. It's the guy on the field, the referee on the field, only has an opinion and can only kind of tell him the opinion of it. There's a person in the booth every single day, every single game that triggers these replays that makes the final judgment on it. Hurry up. It
my
takes
question here
4
is-
seconds.
Why do we have to, which is the case, and this is the same thing, I hate to do it because I always bring it up at least once a podcast, so
Yep.
if you're playing the drinking game, drink. Soccer does it better, where, yeah, the dude has to run off the field and look at a giant screen plugged in. The NFL, college football, guys, these stadiums have antennas on top of antennas pointed everywhere around the stadium. There's no way you couldn't get Wi-Fi down to the field and run a little Microsoft Surface or Apple iPad or Samsung Galaxy tablet out onto the field where the dude can look at and go, yeah, this is what I'm seeing.
Well,
He already has an earpiece and a microphone in. Why do we have to walk over to the side of the field, put a different earpiece and headphones on, drag out another basically phone and put it in front of the guy?
What I don't get is, if you're watching the game from the booth, the replay official, right?
Right.
If you're watching the game and you see a play happen that is questionable, and all
Right.
of these referees know that, it's a catch along the sideline and he catches it and falls out of bounds. My first thought was, I want to see every angle on that catch immediately.
Right.
And they should have 12 views of the screen, and it should be pop, 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 pop. And I would be like, I want to see the middle one, big screen. Boom, I click on it, it's big screen. Okay, that was a catch. That was the angle I needed. Because you have every single angle you need. But what I was also noticing, by the way, the time it takes is just utterly ridiculous. I view it one time with Fox, with the TV view, and I know that they have multiple views than that.
Yeah.
I made a decision in like 3 seconds, and it takes these guys 3 minutes. And then second of all, it takes them forever to signal down to the field to trigger a replay. Again, it should not take that long. When you see a questionable play, everyone in the stadium knows that when there's a questionable play, even the offense knows because they hurry up, they speed up, and it's quicker than what it normally is, just a fast tempo offense. Quick. Say, I want to see every angle you have of that catch or run or fumble or interception or whatever it is, and say, I need to see this angle because this will give me what it is. You click on it, it's done, boom.
Well, I already know there's a PA or somebody that's clicking a button at the start and end of every play.
Yeah.
So you could easily just program something that would basically go click, click, end of play, replay. If it's questionable, you get you're going to know what angle you want to see it at. Bam, angle, pull it up.
Yeah,
blow it dead.
It's
communicate, blow it dead.
It's ridiculous.
I'm 100% there with you.
Yeah.
Now, let's go to the 3:30 games because I really want to hear, because these are all, first of all, basically. Oh no, they're two ACC. They're one of each. We get one of each. We get an SEC, we get a Big 12, and we get an ACC game.
Yeah. Big 10 doesn't have two.
Big 10's 3:30 is Rutgers versus Ohio State, and we all know how that's going to go.
all know how that's going to go. They're big noon again, Michigan, Iowa, and we already talked about that. So, yeah, I mean, it's up to the other conferences. Oh, by the way, your in-laws team are facing a Northwestern. They're 25.5-point favorites. Seems a tad high to me.
It does seem a tad high. They look good against Central Michigan. I will give them that.
Listen, I keep trying to tell Roberto, if Penn State runs the ball consistently, Penn State might end up beating Ohio State at home. It will be a whiteout game no matter what. So they put the whiteout game 7:30 against Minnesota, which Minnesota is looking real nice, so that's going to be a pretty good game.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a whiteout game probably round 2 at home with all that crowd noise. Listen, Penn State might be legit, and they have a chance to beat Michigan because it's off of a bye. It's at Michigan, yeah, but whatever. This Penn State team, if they figure out how to run that ball, that defense is good enough. Sean Clifford's just good enough. They can be a real headache for people, and they can kind of make a run at the Big Ten title. Anyway, do you just want me to run through it?
Yeah, go through it.
Okay,
go through
great. Well, I'm actually going to start at noontime with number 7 Kentucky going to Ole Miss, if you do not mind.
I sure don't.
So I did touch on this. Kentucky normally averages within the past season, I would say, at least 150 yards. However, I would say they creep up to somewhere around 180 to 200 a game. This year, they are averaging 81 rushing yards per game. Yikes. However, Will Levis is an NFL quarterback and an NFL prospect. They have some good receivers. They're doing some good things. They're moving the ball. They've been in a lot of close games lately. Ole Miss is averaging 280 yards per game. But Ole Miss really hasn't played anyone. This is their kind of first real test. Last week they played Tulsa, I believe, and they only won by 8 points. So, here we go. First SEC test. Kentucky's already gone on the road to Florida. Ole Miss is at home, wants to run the ball. This is going to be whoever wants to run the ball better. Ole Miss's defense, more terrible than Kentucky. I will give them that. I like Ole Miss to win just because they're at home, but the spread is 6.5. So if you want outright winners, pick Ole Miss. If you want a spread, a straight up bet, I would bet Kentucky plus the 6.5. Okay? Now to these coveted 3:30 games Simeon wants me to talk about so much. Number 2, Alabama going to number 20, Arkansas. This would have been a heck of a game if Arkansas didn't absolutely just literally fumble the football away and hit the ball off the top of the goal post. The thing that sticks up, they hit it off the very top.
That's a goal post?
Yeah, I said the...
Really? You're going to be nitpicky over what the vertical piece is over the horizontal piece?
Yeah, whatever. So they did end up losing to Texas A&M. Texas A&M is just finding ways to win. I just also feel like they're kind of just mulling around until next week in the Alabama game. And then they're really going to come on. But Anaya Smith left the game. He's their senior wide receiver. That's a big loss for them. So anyway, Arkansas allows 302 passing yards per game. Simeon, is that good or bad?
How many passing yards a game?
302.
That's bad.
Oh, excellent. And Bama allows 62 rushing yards per game, and Arkansas averages 240 rushing yards per game. So this is a battle of whose defense is going to kind of be better. Okay, One defense is facing the Heisman Trophy winner and a group of receivers that I believe is up and coming, or a rushing offense against one of the best rushing defenses. The spread is 17. If I had to guess, I'm going to guess it's a little closer, at least for a half, than 17. Bama wins this game. The over is 60.5. I also say the over hits on this because I think it ends up being like a 24-40 game. When your secondary gives up 302 passing yards per game, you're bad. Michigan State, I'm looking at you.
David.
Figure it out, Michigan State. You hired a defensive-minded head coach, and he sucks. Okay?
Because it's garbage.
Exactly. So, Alabama continues to roll on, the number 2 team in the nation. Arkansas is a nice story.
Daddy.
Keeps it close for a half. So, man, I love what you're doing with the sound bites.
Again, humans are pretty dumb.
Number 9, Oklahoma State. Unbeaten and heading to Waco, Texas.
I'm in danger.
To take on number 16, Baylor. Baylor averages 206 yards on the ground a game. Oklahoma State...
No one cares!
Oklahoma State allows... I'm sorry. Let me just start over.
Yeah.
Baylor averages
There
206
it is.
rushing yards per game. Oklahoma State allows 111 rushing yards per game. So that's the matchup you want to watch. Oklahoma State is also averaging like 560 some yards of total offense. But again, Baylor, this is the first team they're playing. They are playing on the road. Baylor's been tested multiple times already in back-to-back weeks with BYU, loss, Iowa State. They kind of found their offense a little bit at home last week. I like Baylor, but I like the over at 56.5. I don't know why it's so low because I can see this being a 30-31 type game.
It could be a shootout.
I think it is because Baylor also averages like 490 yards of offense.
Yeah.
Number 22, Wake Forest taking on number 23, Florida State. Simeon, I think I told you at the beginning of the season I really like the direction Florida State is heading, and this is proof of that. You have no recollection of this. So Clemson and Wake Forest played in what
I have a rough recollection of this.
What
Sorry, I did hear you. I was processing what you said.
Okay, that's fine. Florida State and Wake Forest and Clemson last week played in what I am considering so far the game of the year. It went to double overtime. It was back and forth the whole game. It was high scoring. 96 total points were scored, I believe. An asinine amount of points. Okay? Wake Forest, much like Michigan State, has not fixed their one fatal flaw, which is their defense, specifically their pass defense. Florida State seems to be a well-rounded, well-balanced team this year. They have a senior-laden quarterback. They have some good running backs. They have the Florida athletes, which are real and true. I'm really surprised this game hasn't been moved from Tallahassee, given the Hurricane Ian. But Florida State is averaging 503 yards of offense, and they're averaging 226 yards on the ground. 277 through the air. Very balanced. Meanwhile, Wake Forest is averaging 123, but Sam Hartman has played one less game than everyone and is like third in passing yards. They throw ball round. They average 314 yards per game. Here's the problem. Wake Forest gives up 375 yards on defense a game. That's not good. I like Florida State because it's at home. First big game under Mike Norvell at home. The over of 63.5 is laughably low, I believe, because Wake Forest, whenever they play a real team, will probably get at least 30 points or 28, if not more, put on them. Wake Forest, though, will also do damage and put the same amount, if not more, on the other team. So the over at 63.5, I love, but I like Florida State to win. And finally, the nightcap. Simeon, the first time, the game that I remember being my welcoming to college football. With this game, it was when I was in nursing school, I believe, or just about to be in nursing school. Game day went to Clemson for for Notre Dame against Clemson. By the way, are you still there?
Yep, I'm listening to you.
Okay, great. No, I just can't see you, so I just want to make sure you didn't just, disappear. Game day went to Clemson for Notre Dame Clemson. It was a top 15 matchup, game of the day. Clemson, it was a fantastic game. Clemson got out to an early lead. It was Deshaun Watson's welcoming to the national stage party. Clemson kind of came back to battle it back, had a chance to tie it with a 2-point conversion late. What was similar to that game in the game on Saturday is there was a hurricane in the area, and they got over 14 inches of rain. Doesn't that sound familiar? It's going to be at night. It's going to be against an ACC foe. There's going to be a hurricane in the area and probably be dumping buckets of rain by that point, I would assume. I don't know the path of the hurricane, Hurricane Ian, but I'm going to assume it's just going to be raining.
Fair.
Number 10, NC State walks into number 5, Clemson. NC State has not been impressive from the get-go. I feel like NC State has just been looking forward to this game and just kind of squeaking by, and now they're going to throw everything at Clemson. Here's the deal. That you can throw everything at Clemson, but if you throw everything at Clemson and you lose, there goes your season. Okay? This is NC State's one and only shot at the ACC. Clemson is... Last year, they were knocked down. They were a prize fighter, and they got hit in the chin, and they crumpled, and they had to really stagger and they weren't knocking people out. They went in and they lifted weights. Their quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, found out how to be accurate and throw the ball. DJ Uiagalelei running the ball a little bit. Will Shipley, their running back, went in the weight room and bulked up, ladies and gentlemen. This offensive line is figuring out how to run the football. Clemson is one big-time game, one big-time win away from being back. Ladies and gentlemen, that is this game on Saturday. Clemson is going to be back.
It's a good setup.
Thank you. Clemson's one
now
problem.
Bring it home.
Thank you. Is their secondary. Their secondary concerns me. They're facing the ACC Quarterback of the Year or runner-up last year in Devin O'Leary. Clemson wins minus the 6.5. I would assume it'll be raining. It'll be nasty. It'll be night. They run down the hill. Clemson, everyone, is back.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. We're back. There you go. Okay, are those your 5?
Those are my 5, ladies and gentlemen. So
Those
I got
are some...
Kentucky, Ole Miss to win, Kentucky to cover, Alabama to win, take the over, Baylor to win, take the over, FSU to win, take the over, Clemson to win, minus the points.
Wow.
How'd
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you,
I thought
dude.
you did great.
Thanks.
I thought you did great. Given the amount of time and you see, now we're going to go to games that no one will watch and no one will care about and that Simeon really knows nothing about besides what's on the paper in front of him. And that's time for Simeon's group of 6 picks. So here's the deal. For those of you keeping score, which is nobody besides me, I went 4-1 last week, and my only upset was Toledo losing to San Diego State. So that's right, I picked effing JMU to beat Appalachian State. All of my 4-1. Okay, I'm not salty about it at all. Pick number 1.
I went 1-4, by the way.
Yeah. So who's the one making you money? It's me.
It's Simeon this year. Everyone, I am 9-13. I'm so sorry, but this I got winners for you this week, especially that Clemson pick. Hit me with it, Simeon. What you got?
We got Georgia Southern taking on the Chanticleers of Central Carolina. This is my first Central Carolina pick of the year. They looked really good 2 years ago. They're favored by 10.5 points. These are going to be quick, by the way, because I was able to do absolutely zero research.
Yep.
Take Georgia Southern plus the points. But Coastal Carolina is going to win outright. My bet, just for kicks and giggles, will be Coastal Carolina plus the points, though. Because F the money line, we're effing things up. This is an easy one for you. I'm going to make you some easy money. It's only it's only minus 650. This is UNLV versus New Mexico. UNLV is 4-0 against Las Vegas. Sorry, it's literally in their name. Against Vegas, they're 3-1 overall
against the spread. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so you're going to want to just take UNLV. They're favored by 14.5. Over/unders 43. UNLV will probably put up a good amount. I think you take the over here, but just take UNLV because I'm here to make you quick money and quick money fast. This one's an interesting one. UTSA versus MTSU. That's Middle Tennessee State University. All of the sudden, Middle Tennessee is looking. Did I say Minnesota State?
You
before?
sure did. Everyone.
I did.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Middle Tennessee.
There it is.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee, for those of you
keeping track.
That's where they're located. Middle Tennessee State University is not favored, whatever that is. Underdog by 4.5 points. They're averaging 360 total yards of offense and allowing 342 yards of defense. They got absolutely bodied by JMU out of the first game and then beat Colorado State, Tennessee State, and Miami. I go back and forth here.
UTSA.
Yeah, I wasn't actually going back and forth there. It's going to be UTSA. They're going to drop Middle Tennessee down. Now, UTSA is favored according to the Football Power Index, but Middle Tennessee is favored. But you're still going to want to take UTSA. You're welcome. All right. I hate myself for making this pick. Immensely. It's Liberty at Old Dominion. Old Dominion is looking really good right now, besides the fact that they've had a really weird schedule. So, yeah, you're going to want to take Liberty, and that's all that I need to give you for the breakdown.
Oh, wow.
They're favored.
Upset.
Yeah, that's why. No, Liberty is favored. It's favored. That's not the upset.
Oh, all right. Well, that's not what you said.
Yeah, I know.
But okay.
University of Alabama, Birmingham versus Rice. What a weird name. It's probably some dude's name. UAB is favored by 10. Listen, you just take that. It's good. It's
take
probably
them minus the points or just them outright?
And them outright, because here's the deal. This is the actual bet of the game. Over-under's 51.
Mm-hmm.
Rice and UAB are exactly even, and if there's anything that the Fun Belt can do, it's get games out of hand real fast against each other because they have no idea what's going on and nobody's there.
Right.
So, yeah, take the over 51.5 on that UAB Rice game, and those are Simeon's different because I took 1 plus the points and 1 over-under officially, which I'll have to keep track of.
The Georgia
games of the week.
Are you taking Georgia Southern plus the points or whoever?
I actually have that game up still. Yes. That was my first pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Georgia. Go ahead.
It's Georgia Southern plus the points technically because I don't think Coastal Carolina is going to win by 10.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So yeah, it's Georgia Southern plus.
Okay. No, I was just making sure because then you said Coastal Carolina. Well, you also called them Central Carolina, so we'll jump back to that in just a minute. You said them plus the points, and then you said Georgia. So I
hate my life right now.
Well, I mean that's fine. Hey, listen. Listen. I've been using some of your picks, and they've been hitting. So everyone, right now, Simeon is making you money. Okay, because clearly I'm not. However. This week I feel good about it. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome.
Listen, first week 0, I went 5-2. Week 1, when I picked every single game, I went 31-10. We scrapped week 2 because that was a weird one, and then I went 1-4 in week 3, and now I went 4-1 in week 4.
He's on fire, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Guys, call me Bear because, I'm making money.
That's
that
it?
was a reference to
college game day. Yes, I got that.
Oh, should we wrap this up? Because we're both fading fast.
Yeah,
and
let's
this was
do it,
the
bro.
worstest podcast in the world. Well, as always, ladies and gentlemen, 4th and 1 podcast. Go give us a follow on Instagram. Thank you guys for listening, as always, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week, guys. God bless. Stay safe. Wash your hands, you filthy animals.